Hi everyone, welcome to the Bookkeeping Made Simple podcast. My name is Donna. I'm the president and owner of Bookkeeping Made Simple, an accounting company serving small businesses nationwide. I want to talk a little bit about what accounting is. I'm recording this on the last day of December 2024. Looking forward to turning the page to a wonderful new year. And I want to talk about what accounting is and why it's actually the sexiest business you can go into and why you need an accountant. And this is not just for clicks. I really feel like people don't understand the profession. Most people think of accountants as bean counters. And one of these days, I'm going to do a video with a green visor and beans to talk about it. But really what accountants do, what a good accountant should do for you, is provide you with the information that you need as a business owner to effectively run your business. You cannot effectively run a business if you don't know how your business is doing. I often say it's like saying, I want to take a road trip to Seattle. Well, where are you starting from? Well, I don't know, just give me a map. Well, if you're starting from New York City, you're going to take a different route to Seattle than you are if you're starting from Louisiana. Or if you're starting from San Diego, your route is not going to be the same as if you're starting from New York. So the first thing we need to know is where you're starting. That's part of what accounting does. People think of accountants as, and this is true, we sit behind screens, we enter all the transactions, we aggregate that information into a report, and most of it is busy work. And it's boring. And that is what most people think accountants do. I beg to differ. I think of accounting as a lot of preparation for the upcoming period. We have to make sure the books are correct. Why do we have to make sure the books are correct? Well, having your accounting in order helps you with a lot of things. One, it helps you set goals. If you know where you're starting from, you will then know what needs to happen to get you to your next goal. So let's say I'm following, by the way, I am reading the 10X Your Life, 10X Factor, by Grant Cardone. Didn't pay a lot of attention to the title. I remember it's by Grant Cardone. And he talks about plan for things to take 10 times longer and cost 10 times more so that you get 10 times the results. Okay, well, if 10 times what? Okay, if you're starting from zero, $100,000 and you've never made money before, 100 grand is going to seem like a lot of money. I have talked to a client who she's only made maybe $16,000 in a year. And I said, yeah, the standard deduction is 18,600, or it was 18,000 for her because she was a head of household. And she said, oh, that's a lot of money. And I was like, no, actually, it's not. So for her to 10x her income would go from $16,000 to $160,000, right? If you have someone who's making $160,000 and they want to 10x their income, they're going to go to 1.6 million. If you have someone that's making 1.6 million and they want to 10x their income, it's going to go from 1.6 to 16. So knowing where you're starting from is important. If you're starting from zero, well, 0 times 10 is still 0. But if you're starting with some sort of a number, you know, let's say you start a business and you say, my goal is to replace my W-2 income. Great. Now we have a starting point. How much did you make last year? And how much of that got taken out of tax? Are you talking about replacing your take-home income or your gross income? Okay. So that's the first thing accountants do. We get your books in order so that you know where you are along your journey. And knowing that helps you make decisions that are going to be hopefully effective for, and I laugh and say, at least they'll be informed. They may not be good decisions. You may be a bad decision maker. I can't control that. But I want my clients to have the information that they need to make those decisions. Can we afford a new piece of equipment for our manufacturing process? Well, I don't know. Let's take a look at your balance sheet, and let's take a look at your profit and loss. Let's take a look at your statement of cash flows. Let's run some ratios. Let's figure out where you're at as far as debt and assets. Can you cover your current debt payments? That's all important. And why is that important? Because that one piece of equipment might be the critical thing that you need to 10x your business. Okay? We can't help you set goals as accountants. Now, I can do that as a CFO, but not as an accountant. If I'm strictly working as an accountant, I am strictly working as an accountant. And there's a lot of different roles in the accounting industry. I will get into those later in a different video. The other thing another thing accountants can do is they can help you identify compliance. Now, I'm frustrated in a lot of ways with the deep state. I remember when all my dad needed to do to start his business in Seattle basically was he needed to get a permit because he was working with dangerous chemicals. I think he needed to pass a test. And he needed to get a business license. But it wasn't a highly regulated environment at that time in the late 70s. And he made very, very good money. And then when I started my business, now, and maybe it's the result of having a computer on every desk, but now the environment is much more regulated. And it doesn't seem to matter what industry you're in. Accounting is now fairly regulated. It's even more regulated the bigger your business becomes. If you're publicly traded, you have to register with the SEC. You have to then comply with entirely different laws than you do as a small business that's a solopreneur. But my job is to help these businesses make sure that they're compliant with all laws that relate to their business. So part of doing that is filing tax returns, running payroll, filing payroll tax returns, filing sales and use tax returns, filing any tax returns that are specific to an industry, such as in Utah we have a tax on restaurants, and making sure that those things are happening on time, in a timely manner, and accurately, because we don't want the taxation authorities are looking to make it or bring in as much. The government doesn't make money; they just bring it in from us. They want to bring in as much tax revenue as they can without. It's kind of a parasitic relationship. They want to bring in as much tax revenue as they can without absolutely destroying the host. So a tax auditor working for the government is looking for ways to make you pay more in taxes. A tax accountant that's working for you should be looking for legal ways that are defensible in an audit to reduce your tax burden as far as possible. Now, we have to be careful with this. I've had clients just not understand that it is in my best interest to accurately prepare their tax return for a number of reasons. One, I want them as a return client. Two, if I make mistakes on a lot of tax returns and it starts to look like it's deliberate, I can be fined, I can be punished. And so it's not in my best interest to help a client commit fraud knowingly. It is, however, in my best interest to make sure that every deduction that I take is supported by documentation. And I've talked to the client about it. It's one of the reasons all of my Zoom calls are recorded. It is in my best interest to make sure that I have everything stored, and all of my client files are stored digitally in a secure location. It is in my best interest to make sure that the client is paying their legally obligated amount of tax, but it's also in my best interest to make sure it's no more than that. So it's not in my best interest to help a client commit fraud. I can lose my ability to prepare tax returns if I do that. Also, it's in my best interest to make sure my own taxes are prepared and paid on time. Because if I fall behind on my own tax returns, I can also lose my right or my privilege of being a tax preparer. So there's making sure that the business owner is in compliance with tax law and other relevant laws is a big part of being an accountant. A lot of them just forget that this is what our clients are depending on us to do. Okay? And I don't think there's anything unsexy about that. The other thing a good accountant should be doing is helping you build the foundation underneath your dreams. So they should be helping you know where you're at to start with. They should be helping you make sure that your books are accurate so that you know where you're at in your business. They should be helping you to have the information to make good decisions about your business. They actually should be going over your reports with you on a fairly regular basis. I like to meet with my clients at least 4 times a year. However, those meetings aren't at the discretion of a client. We do remind them, it's time for your quarterly review. I do encourage them to do that, but I can't force the appointment on them. I like to meet with them on a quarterly basis because their financial situation is going to change through the year. Their financial situation today, December 31st, 2024, it may not be the situation tomorrow. In fact, it won't be. But last year's tax situation may not be this year's tax situation. So meeting with my clients on a fairly regular basis also helps me to make sure that they're getting the support in their business they need. What does this look like? Well, in my case, it looks like asking them a lot of questions that they may not have thought about running a business. Do you have a durable power of attorney? Do you have a succession plan? Do you have, are you planning to hire employees, and do you plan to offer them benefits? Do you have the appropriate healthcare coverage? Do you have life insurance? Do you have life insurance on your key employees where if something happened to them, your business would be devastated? Do you have all these things? And do you have a really good marketer? And if you don't have those things, then I can start going through my network of people I know that do these things and say, here are some people that I know will be good, that will be able to help you with this goal. There's nothing unsexy about that. This is what Grant Cardone does. He's just flashy about it. Most accountants are not flashy people. And this is what a really good accountant would do. And then the final thing a good accountant should be doing for you is, again, they should be talking to you about your dreams, your exit plan. What do we need to do? If you plan to sell your business, what needs to happen? When do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell it next year, 20 years from now? Are you waiting until you get an offer? When do you want to sell your business and why? Now, the exit plans are kind of tricky because that may change from day to day. So you may start your business and say, I'm going to leave it to my children. And as your kids get older, they may show absolutely no interest in your profession. My dad's an entomologist. Entomologists study insects. He went into pest control. My interest in anything, I have had enough of crawling underneath people's houses. I did that in Seattle as a teenager, a young teenager. I have no interest in working like that. I like to be, I've always been interested in computers. And I like to work with computers, I like to work on computers, and I like to work behind screens. And I like to be in an office. I've had jobs where I've had to get really dirty. I don't like those jobs. Um, I've had jobs where it was fairly hard labor. I don't like those jobs either. Um, my husband likes those jobs. He drives a dump truck and he can get very dirty doing that, and he doesn't mind at all. But for myself, I don't like being dirty. So I'm happy to let him do his thing. But my job is to make sure that the client knows the right people, that they are able to grow their businesses, and that they have the resources at their fingertips. So in other words, when my clients come to me and say we're stagnant on growth, I'm going to ask them, who's doing your marketing? It sounds like it's not being very effective. Would you like to have a different marketer? Because sometimes one marketing agency is really, really good with one niche and not so good with others. And sometimes there's a personality conflict, and that's okay. But if that's the case, or if you don't feel like your marketing company is treating you like the way you want to be treated, then it's also okay to say, yeah, let's try a different one, or let's try one in addition to the one we have. Let's take a look and see what their offerings are. If you don't know who those people are, you feel kind of stuck. So that's my take on what an accountant does. Our accountants really should be focused on their client's success. As far as they are able to. The ultimate arbiter of that is the client. So we do have clients occasionally that are unable or unwilling to do the work it takes to succeed and really don't want to. And that's okay. They have to make those decisions for themselves. But accountant's job is not to sit and make busy work. It is not to be a drain on your finances. Your accountant should be helping you make money, to keep the money you have. So there's twofold parts of accounting, or of financial success, of financial abundance. One is to make more money, and two is to keep more of the money you're making. And a good accountant, especially if they can also help you with CFO duties, can be invaluable with that. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here and start a new one, because there's some other things I want to talk about, and that is, one, what is fraud and why you should be very careful about it. I have seen business owners commit fraud, sometimes unintentionally, sometimes very intentionally, and what the client's obligations to the accountant are in order for us to help you be successful. So with that, those are the two videos that are coming up soon. I'm going to go ahead and end this one. I'm looking forward to talking to you again soon.